So thank you everybody for joining, and we appreciate your interest in this subject. And I just did start the recording. I'm going to be doing the recording so that we can share the link with you, and we do very much encourage you to share it with your network if you know of others that would be interested in this content. I'm going to just start by offering a land acknowledgement from where I am, and give me a second. So the land on which I live and work is the traditional territory of the Wendat, the Anishinaabeg, and the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. It is home to the Mississaugas of Scugog Hiawatha and Alderville First Nations and the Métis Nation. This This territory was the subject of the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, I cannot speak, an agreement between the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabe to peaceably share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. The treaties that were signed for this particular parcel of land that I live on are collectively referred to as the Williams Treaty of 1923. I am grateful to call this land home, and I am committed to a journey of listening, learning, and building right relationships through care and respect. At Alongside Hope, we affirm the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples and the calls to action of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. And we take actions towards reconciliation in consultation with our Indigenous colleagues and partners. I want to welcome our speakers. I'm not sure if Mary has joined us yet, but we will be hearing from Mary Obiero from Church World Service Africa. And welcome to some of Mary's colleagues who have joined us today. And my colleagues, Suzanne Rumsey, Naba Gurung, and Carolyn Cummins. Suzanne's going to start by offering an introduction to Alongside Hope's partnership and work with their membership and work with Foodgrains Bank. Then Mary and Naba are going to describe in more detail some of the work that's being done by Church World Service in Tanzania, Kenya, and Democratic Republic of Congo through support from the Foodgrains Bank, including how the funding works. Following that, Carol and I are going to talk a little bit about how you can get involved in our work with the Foodgrains Bank. We are going to have some time for questions at the end, through the webinar. But in the meantime, we ask that you remain on mute. If you do have questions that arise, you're more than welcome to pop them into the chat, and Suzanne will facilitate our Q&A period. We are scheduled for 90 minutes today, and we do have quite a lot of content, so it will be a jam-packed webinar, but hopefully you'll find it quite interesting and informative. We do ask that you remain on mute throughout the presentations, just to avoid any background noise and any echoes and whatnot. And now I will pass it to Suzanne.
Thanks so much, Kim. Let's actually start with a brief prayer to gather ourselves together. Let us pray. Creator of the fruitful earth, you made us caretakers of all that you created. Give us grateful hearts for all your goodness and steadfast call to use your bounty well, that the whole human family today and in generations to come may with us give thanks for the riches of your creation. We ask this in the name of Jesus Christ the Lord. Amen. We titled this session Together We Are Stronger, because this is very much a partnership of of many, many people and organizations. Next slide. Alongside Hope, the Canadian Foodgrains Bank has a mission statement, and that is working together to end global hunger. It also has a vision statement, which is a world without hunger, and a belief. The Canadian Foodgrains Bank is rooted in the belief that humankind is created in the image of God, and that it is God's desire that no person should go hungry. Next slide, please. The Canadian Foodgrains Bank is a partnership of 15 church and church-based agencies. We just need someone to mute. Are we muted? Better. Thank you. So 15 churches and church-based organizations together representing nearly 30 Christian denominations in Canada. Alongside Hope is a member of the Foodgrains Bank as Alongside Hope and also on behalf of the Anglican Church of Canada. And we've been a member since 2007. The organization operates through a tripartite model involving the Canadian Foodgrains Bank staff, member agencies, those 15 members I mentioned, and local partners. CFGB works in 4 general program areas. The first is emergency food assistance in crisis zones, such as Afghanistan, Gaza, Malawi, elsewhere. Then there's long-term food security or livelihoods work. This involves such things as conservation agriculture and the Nature Plus program, a multi-country program that we'll mention a bit later. And then there's Nexus programming. And Nexus programming bridges emergency responses with longer-term development, so that transition from immediate need into long-term food security. And the 4th program area is engaging Canadians and government through advocacy, education, and mobilization. Mary and Naba will speak to you about those first 3 areas, and Kim and Carolyn will speak about the 4th area. Next slide, please. A bit of a word about impact and context. The 2024-25 report of the impact of CFGB is realized with and through its members and their partners. So altogether, that tripartite approach provided $74.57 million in assistance. 1.18 million people were supported. Work was delivered across 37 countries. And this was a record year for CFGB, its members and partners, especially notable given rising food costs globally and a declining Canadian dollar. I don't need to tell you that this work is taking place in a challenging global context. We all know that from the news. But just a word, rising global hunger, acute food insecurity has risen from 105 million people in 2016 to 295 million in 2024. And just to say that acute food insecurity is any type of food insecure situation that threatens people's lives and livelihoods. And needs are increasing faster than there is capacity globally to respond. Another key driver of hunger are conflicts. There are currently 61 active conflicts in the world, and in fact, conflict is the largest driver of humanitarian need. And 75% of CFGB funding now goes to conflict-affected contexts. And then there's climate change. Smallholder farmers are the most impacted by the growing number of natural disasters that have grown from about 220 per year in the 1990s to over 350 per year today. They are a major driver of displacement, instability, and hunger. Other drivers of food insecurity include economic insecurity, the collapse of global funding, including the shuttering of US aid, and growing public distrust and disinformation. Next slide, please. So, alongside Hope's work with the Foodgrains Bank, Alongside Hope is currently leading CFGB projects together with local partners in Kenya, in Tanzania at the Nyarugusu refugee camp, in the Democratic Republic of the Congo or the DRC, and in Zimbabwe as part of the multi-country government-funded Nature Plus program. And we're beginning a program in the Philippines. And we support program work of other CFGB members currently in Afghanistan and Gaza. How do we do that? Well, we draw on our Foodgrains Bank equity account. We have an account because the Foodgrains Bank is a bank. We have a bank account through matches that NABA will explain to you. And we often work in collaboration with other CFGB members to combine resources. In other words, sometimes we're in the lead with a project, and sometimes we support other CFGB members' projects. As mentioned earlier, we also engage in Foodgrains Bank education programming, including such things as learning tours, advocacy work, Hunger on the Hill is one example, and fundraising through programs like Grow Hope. Next slide, please. So a thank you from me.
So pray. CFGB and alongside Hope have many worship resources and prayers available for your use. The National Youth Project, and So It Was So, is an example of a resource that has a lot of opportunities for worship and for prayers as activities. It does provide a number of prayers as well as scripture and Bible study questions on 6 thematic areas. And this was a collaboration with the uh, Canadian Lutheran World Relief and Canadian Foodgrains Bank and alongside Hope, and was developed for clay. Our Creation Care Climate Action learning focus that we kind of just finished involve 10 learning modules, with the first year of which being focused on food security. They include prayers and Bible studies as well as other activities. Although they were created in 2021, they're still very much relevant today, and we are strongly encouraging their use um, as an excellent learning tool. The Canadian Foodgrains Bank and Alongside Hope websites offer World Food Day worship resources that have been developed collaboratively. You can include Alongside Hope and Foodgrains Bank in special Sundays, for example, Rogation, um, Thanksgiving, and World Food Days is a really good opportunity to involve Canadian Foodgrains Bank and Alongside Hope in your worship. Until All Are Fed is a website or microsite that houses the World Food Day resources from Foodgrains Bank. So ACT really includes learning, advocating, as well as organizing educational and fundraising activities around the theme of food. The resources I've mentioned above all also include activities and learning opportunities, articles about our partners working with Foodgrains Bank, And these can be done, these learning activities can be done in groups or individually. So why not put together an educational activity or event in your parish? Grow Hope is a an opportunity to act and give. Um, we aim to connect churches with local farmers who come together to raise money for the Foodgrains Bank. Individuals and churches raise money to sponsor acres. So it covers the input costs to grow a crop. The farmer grows the crop and donates their proceeds to the Foodgrains Bank. Opportunities for learning and connection are planned because a lot of it is to do with helping folks that are in urban settings to learn about farming and the food system, food production systems. And we like to find opportunities to connect and build relationships. Alongside Hope is involved in three Grow Hopes projects at the moment, one in Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and one in the Toronto area. And this is an area that we're really wanting to grow our involvement and really hoping that we can get other parishes or other communities to come together with Grow Hope as a good learning opportunity. So, learning tours and partner visits are an opportunity to visit and get to know partners and the work that's being sponsored by Foodgrains Bank. Participants are then expected to share their learning, whether it's through presentations, writing articles, or offering sermons. Alongside Hope, volunteers are often encouraged to participate in learning tours, and also an event called Hunger on the Hill. These provide sort of intensive learning opportunities about issues of hunger and how to advocate for public policy that supports food security. We often join the Foodgrains Bank on advocacy efforts, whether it's offering signing postcards, letter writing campaigns, and for those that are able, creating opportunities to visit with your MPs. Uh, this is an important part of how public policy is developed and an opportunity to engage with our elected officials. I'm going to pass it to Carolyn to talk a little bit about Give and ways that you can donate to the Foodgrains Bank.
Thanks, Kim. And thank you, Linda, for the question about giving. Your question was, should I give to Alongside Hope or should I give to Canadian Foodgrains Bank? And the answer is yes. So there are a couple of ways that you can make a gift to Alongside Hope's equity in the Canadian Foodgrains Bank. The first way is to go to the Alongside Hope website and select Canadian Foodgrains Bank equity and make your gift, and then it will be designated to our equity, and we then transfer it into the bank account, the account. The second way is to go to the Canadian Foodgrains Bank website, and when you're in the donation page, you will find a drop-down menu that has the list of all of the members. And it's very important to look for Alongside Hope in that list and to select us so that your gift does go into our equity account. If you don't do that and you just select for greatest needs, it will go into a general account that is accessible by all members, which is, I mean, that's a good thing. But if you give to Alongside Hope's equity, then it's going directly to us, to our programs and to the programs that we're working with other members on. And the matching that we'll get into later, that someone else will explain much better than I could, is higher if it's for our equity account. So those are the two ways to give to Alongside Hope. The other thing that I just wanted to mention in terms of giving, when we had our diocesan reps together at our national gathering last November, we talked about local and global initiatives and making those connections, because there's always a lot of desire to support local initiatives, local community needs, and that makes a lot of sense. It doesn't have to be either or, though. It can be both local and global. And so we talked about some different ways to do that. And I think one suggestion that would be particularly relevant to hunger and food security would be to do something like do a food drive for your local shelter or food bank, and pair that with making a contribution to a Canadian Foodgrains Bank project that Alongside Hope is supporting at the same time. So just to get you thinking a little bit about different ways to maybe address both of the needs that your parish might be seeing. I think that's all I was going to share, and I hope that now we have the network problem solved and that we can hear from Naba and Mary, the most important part today.
I believe Mary
We
has
have
joined.
them.
Mary is in the
Excellent.
room.
And so is Neva.
Yay.
It's my pleasure to introduce Mary Conceptor Obiero. She is the Humanitarian and Development Director at Church World Service Africa, based in Kenya. For over 30 years, she has worked with partners implementing integrated programs in WASH, food security, community livelihoods, education, migration and human mobility, youth empowerment, emergency response, and disaster risk management with gender sensitivity lenses, all in Africa. She's been involved in the development of strategic plans and engaged in capacity building, resource mobilization, institutional transformation, and the formation of strategic alliances. Mary is an expert in community organization and engagement in community development programming. She and her husband are the parents of 2 young adult children. And Mary visited Canada in 2023 on a Canadian Foodgrains Bank tour. Some of you met her on that tour. And in February 2025, she welcomed a delegation of Alongside Hope volunteers to Kenya on a partnership visit organized by Church World Service Africa. Naba, our colleague Naba Gurung, grew up on his family's farm in Nepal. He completed a bachelor's degree in agriculture there and worked as a conservation officer in the Annapurna Conservation Area project. He then left his homeland to complete a master's degree in science at the Center for International Environment and Development Studies of the Norwegian University of Life Sciences in Oslo, Norway. Following a move to Canada, Naba joined Alongside Hope in 2002 as program associate and began managing CFGB-funded projects when Alongside Hope joined CFGB in 2007. As humanitarian response coordinator, Naba currently manages a range of projects both globally and here in Canada. Naba and his wife are the parents of 2 young adult children, and they live in Scarborough, Ontario. But as we've mentioned, he joins us today, we hope together with Mary from Kenya.
So it looks like we've lost Naba too.
I was just gonna say I'm not.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he just dropped, and I thought, so
Oh.
we're having obviously network technicalities happening in Kenya.
Okay, well.
Just as you were starting to introduce Naba, he
All right.
disappeared.
I scared him away.
I wonder if we should just do switch it up a bit and do the get involved first and give them more time to sort themselves out.
That's a good idea, Kim. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's do that. And again, a reminder to people that as questions arrive, do be welcome to put them into the chat.
Yeah. Apologize and thanks for kind of your patience with challenges we have sometimes with networks around the world. Give me a quick second.
Hooray. Mary, can you say something so we can just get some sound from you?
Hello, good morning.
Oh,
Good
hallelujah.
afternoon.
Welcome. We're so glad you were able to join. And we've been letting people know that you and Naba have been having internet challenges. So we'll do our best. And just ask everyone to bear with us, recognizing that sometimes technology does not help. So Mary, in your absence, I introduced you and Naba. And so I'm going to pass it over to the two of you. And we're so glad to be hearing from you. Thanks.
Thank you, Suzanne. Okay, so hello, good morning, good afternoon to everyone. Nava here. Sorry for the technological challenge. I think this is not new to any one of you that alongside who is a member of the Canadian Foodgrains Bank. So as a bank, the Foodgrains Bank is collectively owned by its 15 members, as my colleague Suzanne said, and alongside Hope is one of them. So each member agency or church has an account there in the bank that we call equity account. And as Caroline said, when our supporters like you and Anglicans or individually or in group donate to the Foodgrains Bank, your contribution goes to our equity account. And similarly, as Suzanne said, there are other denominations linked to various members. So similar mechanism works as regards to the equity account in the Foodgrains Bank. In addition, there is a 16th account, which is known as a shared account. So when contribution comes from individual or group, which is not specified to any of the 15 members, then that contribution or donation goes to the shared account. So that makes the account the 16th one. And then another notable thing is that the Foodgrains Bank has in its history of the last 43 years been receiving
Napa, we're losing your sound. Could I suggest you turn off your
amount of the government's
Napa, can you
turn
hear
off
me?
what's then?
Could you turn off your camera? We're losing the bandwidth is getting wobbly.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Yeah, Suzanne, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Suzanne?
That's better.
Hello.
Thanks.
Oh
That's
my
better,
goodness.
Napa.
Suzanne?
Can you hear me?
Okay.
Yes? Yeah.
Okay, Suzanne, I turned off the video. It's telling me the network is unstable. As the Canadian government's commitment to the Food Assistance Convention, which is an international treaty aiming at providing food assistance to the people experiencing acute food crises. So currently, the grant that comes through Global Affairs Canada is 100 million for a period of 4 years, which translates to roughly 25 million a year. And in addition, because this is a common platform of the Canadian churches collectively committed to ending global hunger, this has been recognized very favorably by the Canadian government and some other agencies as well. So, like Suzanne mentioned, the Nature Plus project, the upcoming project that we are going to undertake in the Philippines, these come under special projects who there's over and above the $100 billion for food assistance. And in addition, even the Foodgrains Bank network, as Suzanne says, a tripartite commitment which constitutes the Foodgrains Bank Secretariat, members like alongside Hope, and partners like Church World Service, where Mary comes from. So this collectively we call it a Foodgrains Bank network. So the network's good work has been recognized by other agencies, other governments like Norway Indonesian government as well. So there has been some funding from them too. So all to say is there's institutional grant from the government through Food Assistance Convention, but also some special funding like the Nature Plus, like the upcoming food project in the Philippines. Uh, and so there's a lot of collaborative work with the secretariat, with members, and between the other partners, which I'll get to later. So next slide, Suzanne.
We
Suzanne, can
can
you hear
hear you.
me?
Thanks, Naba. And Janice is doing the
Oh,
slides.
okay. It's coming to me a bit late. So, okay. Yes, there's a slide, a new slide just came here. Okay.
I
Just
think we've
lost
lost
Naba.
Naba again. Yeah. Oh dear. And I'm not sure we have Mary. Mary, do we still have you?
Yes, you have
There's
me.
Naba.
Ah,
I can
good.
hear you well. Yeah.
Okay. Naba, are you back?
Suzanne, hello.
There you are. You're back.
Hello, Suzanne. Sorry, I've been thrown up. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
So, yeah, I can hear you, Suzanne. My screen is blank though. But if you can hear me, you want me to continue, Suzanne?
Yes, please.
Okay. The slide also appeared. So
Good.
we have worked with various. So in the membership, as a member, alongside Hope, uh, is responsible and authorized to manage the fund in our equity. So there's the responsibility for each of the members to manage their own equity. And on top of that, the selection of partners, like in the right hand side, you see Church World Service, Foodgrains Bank, and alongside Hope logos. So, selection of Church World Service as a partner, that responsibility, both selection and nurturing the partnership relationship, comes to rest on the alongside Hope, rest on the member. So, Foodgrains Bank secretary doesn't pick a project, doesn't pick a partner, but the primary responsibility of choosing the partner and choosing the project rests on the member, like alongside Hope. And when project is started, of course, there's support from the Foodgrains Bank Secretariat, but the primary responsibility of project man also rests on the member. So in this case, managing relationship with social service and managing the project that we do with and through church service, the primary responsibility rests on alongside Hope, but there is always support from the Food Grants Bank Secretariat. So within this mechanism, we have done several projects around the world. Of course, today's focus is the work with Church World Service. But when we choose our partners, we very much focus on the like-mindedness, the common shared mission, and also the strong due diligence, financial management and control mechanism, and a track record of transformative work that our partner has been doing in the past. So that way, Church World Service falls under those criteria. So that's one of the examples, but that's our responsibility. So we keep those in mind when we choose a partner, because as you know, alongside Hope is not set up as an implementing agency. So for us, we very much carefully choose our partners, whom to work with and how to work with them. Next slide, Janice. So talking about the matching mechanisms within the Food Grains Bank, of course, as a bank, we have We have our equity account there. There's fund there. There's that we are authorized and responsible to manage. But in addition to that, we are eligible as a member to access various funding baskets that are available within the bank. So, food assistance basket account. Is that 100 million that I mentioned earlier that constitute this account, and we are eligible to access this account on 4-to-1 basis, meaning we for a project, if we put 20% of the fund from our equity, then we are eligible to access 80% to make up the project budget from the food assistance uh, account, which is the money that Foodgrains Bank receives from the Canadian government. So there are a few conditions put forth by the government to utilize this funding. Of course, this is meant to target the most vulnerables who are experiencing extreme hunger. So there is a technical jargon term that we call integrated food security phase classification. So it has to be 3 or above, which means crisis, emergency, or even famine like situations. And then there has to be an international appeal to for us to be eligible to use this account to this match. Next slide, Janice. So food assistance, the previous one is mainly for relief activities because that's meant for life-saving interventions. But then there is a food security account which allows us members to do the projects with our partners like Church World Service to fund long-term food security interventions. And the matching here is 3-to-1, which means if we put 20%, 25% of our contribution from the equity towards a project, then 75% is contributed by the food security account in the bank. So I'll give you examples later. So this is another account that as a member, we are eligible to access. Next slide, Janice. And then, as I mentioned earlier, there's this 16th account, which is known as the shared account. So for this, the matching formula is 1-on-1 basis, which is for a project that we do with our partners. We need to put 50% from our the equity account, and then 50% can be accessed from the shared account. So this is flexible. This can be used for food assistance interventions, but also for long-term agriculture and livelihood, or even the Nexus projects that Suzanne mentioned earlier. So this is much flexible. Next slide, Janice. So we'll go to Church World Service now. So it's over to you, Mary. I hope you are able to connect well. Thank you, and I'll come back.
Thank you, Naba. Thank you, everybody. I want to take this chance to apologize for network connection. I think something terribly happened with a major network provider in the country at the point when we are starting the meeting. I am hopeful that the internet will keep on getting strong as we complete. And thank you, Susanna, for the introduction. I work with Church World Service, and Church World Service is a partner for Alongside Hope. We have been working we do work in Africa. Currently, we are doing work in 3 countries. That is Kenya. In Kenya, we are working in northeastern part of the country, as you can see from the map, in a county called Marsabit. Tanzania, we are working with the refugees in Nyarugusu refugee camp. That is the western part of Tanganyika, Tanzania. And then most recently, we started work in Democratic Republic of Congo, where we are working in the Kasai Central, which is in the central part of DRC. So I'll start by talking briefly about Church World Service and the partnership with Alongside Hope. This is a partnership that started long ago, over 10 years ago. And it's a partnership as much as the donor alongside Hope is funding our work. We look at alongside Hope as an accompanying partner, not necessarily as a donor, because they have provided support, majorly technical support to our teams. NABA has been very helpful in making sure that CWS teams design programs that make effective impact with the communities that we work with. And this has continued from the time we started this. We have been gone through training on how you are able to consult communities. You are able to discuss with the communities on what type of projects they want. And this is a process that we have learned a lot from both CFGB and alongside HOPE. This includes doing assessment with the communities, consulting on not just the needs that are in the community, but also looking at the assets. What is it that these communities can be able to provide to us their own development? And then from that point, we get down and do a project design, which is again participatory with the communities being involved. We review this, and then during the implementation, we also bring the communities on board to communities take the central role. Actually, we talk about Church World Service being an organization that builds the capacity of the communities to a level where the communities take the central role. And us as Church World Service, we're just facilitators. We're just supporting their own development. And for that reason, we involve the communities in a project implementation. And we also continue to build their capacity. But we have gained a lot of some of these insights from alongside HOPE, with support from NABA and some colleagues from CFGB. Next slide, please. So as I talked about having a project in Nyarugusu refugee camp, Nyarugusu refugee camp at the moment is the biggest refugee camp in Tanzania, with about 120,000 refugees. Most of these refugees come from Democratic Republic of Congo, and the reason why they are coming to the refugee camp is because of the conflict that is happening in Congo. Currently, we have active conflict in some parts in eastern part of Congo, but some of these refugees have lived in this refugee camp for over 30 years. Most of them came in around 1996, and they have continued to come. We have new arrivals who are still coming at the moment. There are people who are born in the refugee camp, and all they know about what home is them being in the refugee camp. So this particular refugee camp is not very endowed with resources, and for that reason, there's a lot of strain due to overcrowding. You can imagine having 120,000 people in one place. And therefore, at the moment also, there's a serious challenge on limited funding. We visited this camp recently with NABA and a colleague from CFGB, and talking to the camp management, which is the Tanzania government Ministry of Home Affairs. It's clear that with the withdrawal of funding from USAID, there's a big gap, in the sense that the government told us that USAID funding, the US government funding, was covering 70% of what is supposed to be spent in the camp, and now that is not there. So there's a serious the serious problem with funding, and that means that a number of things have been cut, most of them being basic needs, looking at health, education, food. At the moment, the refugees are getting food at 50% ration. What that means that they can only cover the 50% of their food needs at the moment. In addition to that, there's a lot of environmental pressure due to a lot of footprint in the camp. As the picture below you can see, you hardly see any green cover because people are living in small area and a big number of people. And the worst part of it is that there's very limited livelihood opportunities. Even people are ready to work. We have so many young people living in this camp. They're ready to work, but apparently there's no work and they don't have opportunities to be able to carry on their livelihood activities. Next slide, please. So what does CWS do in this camp with the support of alongside HOPE and CFGB? Way back in 2021, we did an assessment, and I think by that time the food ration was at 80%. But what we realized is that the refugees were depending on one type of food. You are given just food ration that covers a cereal, cooking oil, starch, and you just eat that from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. They did not have any vegetables within their diet, and for that reason, CWS with the alongside HOPE and CFGB, we brought in a project that focuses majorly on planting vegetables, just to ensure that families can have at least vegetables on their plate. And since 2021 to 2022, we worked with about 810 households. We have started the phase 2 of this project in 2024, and currently we are working with 900 households. A total of about 10,000 individuals have benefited from this project, but this is what we count within our program. When you go on the ground, you realize that apart from the 10,000 household individuals that we are serving, they are also serving their neighbors who are almost at the same number. They're able to share the vegetables they have. They're able to share the seeds with their neighbors. They're also sharing their farm inputs and tools that you are giving them with their neighbors. And for that reason, this particular project has maybe helped more than the people that we are targeting. Hopefully, we'll be able to do an evaluation and just be able to cover a larger community. Next slide, please. So how does this project work? This is a very interesting project because people living in the refugee camp hardly do any work. You wake up in the morning and you don't have a schedule. You stay until evening. You wait to be given the little ration that you can get and be able to use that. When the CWS was starting this project, we made a deliberate effort that we are going to engage refugees to work for their own communities. And for that reason, the people you are seeing in the picture here, these are extension workers, because these refugees come either in the camp with some skills. Some of them have high school education, and for that reason, they are people that can be trained and they can be able to do something to support their own communities. So all the extension workers are gotten from the refugee community. Our program is using a lead farmer model where you have a lead farmer, a farmer who can be able to train other farmers. So the lead farmer, they're also coming from this community, and majority of them are women, because we want to provide the opportunities for these women to be able to serve in their community. And we'll be talking maybe briefly about the gender component and how that has been able to help these communities start working together as a household. So we have developed a multi-purpose nursery centers where we are able to produce our own seed. We are able to plant a number of trees. I'll be talking about that briefly. But more importantly is that we have also introduced the gender aspect. In our program, we provide space for women leadership. And the most important thing, we want to hear women voices, but also we want to get women be involved in decision making, especially things around nutrition, things that affect their families. And also we want men to share the house chores with their women, and that is happening at the moment as we speak. So vegetable production is a big thing, because it's not just vegetables that these communities are producing. They are also producing seed, they are saving the seed, and they're sharing with the neighbor. So this project has helped the refugee community to look out for a neighbor, to share with a neighbor, to make sure that everyone has some green vegetables on their dinner plate. Next slide. So I talked about tree planting, and I'm very proud that Church World Service has been awarded as the best working NGO in the refugee camp, majorly because of tree planting. When we started working in this community, there was hardly any tree. But in the last 5 years, we have planted over 75 trees, and we have about 60% of this tree that survival rate. And for us in Africa, that's big, because most trees are planted, but they don't get to mature and to survive. So what it means is that the communities have embraced the model of tree planting, and they're the ones planting the trees taking care of them, and supervising the management of their trees. And the Tanzania government has actually come out very strongly to support this component. Within this tree planting, we are doing tree planting at household level where they are mainly fruit and vegetable trees. Like the picture, the lower trees that you see, they are called chaya. Chaya is a very rich vegetable tree, and it survives during the dry season and it thrives even more during the rain season. So the communities are using that tree as a vegetable. We have also introduced fruit trees, but more importantly, we have also introduced woodlots where we are planting tree around the water catchment areas to protect those water catchment areas, because climate change is a big problem in Africa, and Nargus refugee camp has not been, it has also been affected by climate change. And for that, we are greening the Nyarugusu refugee camp. One of our lead farmers, especially the person who is in charge of tree planting, is called Mako. He has also been crowned as the best environmentalist in Nyarugusu refugee camp. And we are very proud about these small milestones. They may look small, but in the real sense, when you analyze, they are big milestones, not just for Church World Service and alongside Hope, but for the refugee communities that had lived without having any vegetables. There are kids who are growing up without seeing any green tree, but now these trees are there, they are protecting the environment, and they are very proud of it. Moringa is one of also the trees that are planting as a vegetable tree. It's very nutritious, and especially for the children under 5. And for that, with all these, the vegetables and the trees, the environment has increased, has improved, the household food nutrition diversity has improved, and more importantly, on the gender, we are slowly starting to experience gender equality. So we are very proud of this, and we want to continue doing this, and also maybe to replicate some of these program activities in other refugee camps. Next slide. So I just want Naba to come in briefly to talk about a summary of what we have been able to do in Nyarugusu refugee camp, and what alongside Hope thinks, because we are both in East Africa with Naba. We just visited the refugee camp a few days ago, and I think it's quite clear in his mind how this project is being implemented and how it is supporting people.
Thank you, Mary. So I have been to this camp 3 times so far. We have also facilitated a visit by the Foodgrains Bank staff, particularly what we call ALTA, Agriculture and Livelihood Technical Advisors. During the COVID time, they provided online training to staff and extension workers, but also they have visited the communities and staff there. So something to add about tree planting. Actually, the host community and refugee community is separated by a river there, and the refugee community relies on the river for many of their functions. There's an open laundry system there. You'll see many women, washing their clothes, but that water is their main water source. So has been affected by drought, because when drought comes there, the drought is very nasty. But this tree, because so the tree planting is the main woodlot that has been created now is along that river, so which also helps the refugee community immensely. Something to add on what Mary already said and what Suzanne alluded about the funding cards. So in this camp, the project, when I went there, I go there every time. Of course, I need a permit as an outsider to get to the camp. So the permit comes all the way from Ministry of Home Affairs, and then it goes to zonal office. So I need to do like 3, 4 types of courtesy calls. And then um, we also visit the what we call line agencies. So United Nations High Commission for Refugee Offices is a UNHCR office there, and then World Food Program office there, and other other NGOs with whom Church World Service collaborate. So talking about the government, there are many restrictions that the refugee community face. For example, they are not allowed to grow any crops inside camp that grows higher than your knee high. So they are not allowed to grow, for example, maize, because maize grows higher than your knee high. So vegetables, fortunately, are below their your knee high, so you are able to grow. They are not allowed to even do on motorcycles or even bicycles, and then region is security regions given by the government, right? They are not allowed to access the market outside of the camp. If you want to go outside of the camp, you need a special permit. Yeah. So those restrictions are there. Even for agency like Church World Service, it's not easy to work there. Because the expectation is you also bring in resources not only for refugee communities but also for host communities. Fortunately for us, for Church World Service, there is another church partner from US, Latter-day Saints, who brought some funding and which they agreed to support the host communities. So that way we're complementing to each other. Uh, so those restrictions are there for the agencies who want to work with the refugee communities. And then with UNHCR and WFP, as Mary said, the original thesis of the project was to complement the basic food ration provided by World Food Program, which is maize meal, some beans, cooking, little bit of cooking oil, and salt. And that household basket, food basket, has even gone down. By now that has gone down to 50%. So that reality is there, and which represents a global scenario also elsewhere in the world. And then for United Nations High Commission for Refugees, we had very frank discussion with their officer in charge there, and they said, okay, their funding has gone down by more than 70%. So because these fundings have gone down, something for the government, the excuse there is, look, the resources are going down, we're not able to host you, so the refugees should go back. So for them, the Burundians say Burundians should go home. Um, so currently the government position is by June, end of June 2026, all Burundians should go home. So there are, although in on paper they call it as a voluntary repatriation, in reality there's a coercion there. So that is the reality that both the agencies, Church World Service, but also UN agencies are facing. Many have closed down their shops and left the area altogether. And also that's the reality that refugee community have been facing in that part of Tanzania, which is the largest refugee camp in the country, by the way. So yeah, thank you. So we'll go to the next, Dr. Mary.
Thank you, Naba. We'll be looking into the programs that we implement in Kenya, and this particular project I want to introduce and present to you is quite historical and very close to our hearts, because with this project we are able to save lives in Kenya. So from 2021, Kenya, Somalia, Ethiopia, or the Horn of Africa suffered from the worst drought in 40 years. It was the worst drought that happened in 40 years, and this drought lasted 4 years. So Marsabit County was among that particular area that was affected. And we had never talked about IPCA, the food clarification phase. We had over 500,000 people facing acute food crisis. So at that particular point, we reached out to Alongside Hope, and together with the support of the CFDB, we were able to provide food to about 17,000 households, which came to over 100,000 people for a period of 2 years. Of course, it's scattered that we could serve these communities for 6 months, and then we would move to another community and serve for 6 months. And within our food basket, we had a ration of maize meal or cereal, which was about 50 kilos. We had beans, which was 10 kilos, 3 liters of cooking oil, and 1 kilo of salt. We did this per household per month for that period of time, and we saved lives. This drought that affected East Africa, and for us to have done that, we felt like we saved lives, but also we needed to look into long-term development with these people, because these are pastoral communities. Pastoral communities are people who entirely depend on livestock. They keep cattle, they keep goats, they keep sheep. So at this particular point during this drought, most of the animals died and they did not have anything to feed on. They majorly feed on milk and meat. So this particular food saved people's life, and especially for children under 5, expectant mothers, the older people, and the people living with disability. Next slide. So we can look at the statistics. We reached, as I said, about 17,000 households. But more importantly, what I would just want you to note is that when you look at our statistic, you'll be able to see that most of the people that we served was female-headed households. That was over, I would say, more than 70% of our beneficiaries were female-headed households. And the reason why we did that is because in Africa, if you are a single woman and you have a family, you face other discriminations, in the sense that you are not just vulnerable, but you are also marginalized. And to some extent, you are even marginalized by your own community that is supposed to be supporting you. And for that reason, we would work more with female-headed households, just to be able to make sure that they are cushioned during crisis, and even within our development programs, we also still work more with them. When you look at the data for programming, we always put men, women, girls, and boys, and there's a reason why we do that, because each particular gender is affected differently during famine. Women will be more affected. Of course, girls will be also affected. Sometimes men are also go through a lot of trauma, and boys sometimes also they drop out to go to take care of animals or to move away with animals during famine time. So we are happy to just get the data and see how we are serving the communities and who is getting the service. So we did that for that time, and we remain grateful that we are able to serve these communities at that time. Next slide. So after that, we started a project we called Grow Hope, and we have given it a Swahili name, which means Matumaini. Matumaini means that you are growing hope, you are giving hope to people. We said, CWS, we don't want to provide food to communities and then walk away and maybe come again when there's a crisis and provide food. But we want to teach people how to farm. We want to give people the net for them to go and fish. Of course, they cannot fish in the desert. So for that reason, they'll be doing other things that can happen to improve their livelihoods. So we started this particular project in 2024, and it's a 3-year project that is going, a 4-year project that is going to run from 2024 to 2027. We are targeting about 909 households within the same communities that we are providing food. And we started, first of all, by recovery project, where we did things like cash for work. We would give, people would come and work on their community projects, like make their roads, clear their farms, and then would pay them some little money. Then after that, we now went into resilience building projects. At this particular point in these communities, we are doing kitchen gardening. We have introduced kitchen gardening during the rain season. The women are able to plant some little vegetables around their houses, and they are actually complementing their diet with that. We have introduced poultry. This is something that was not had never happened in this community, keeping chicken because they are pastoralists and their focus is majorly on big animals, but we have introduced poultry, so they are keeping chicken. This is a community that does a lot of beadwork, so we are using that to make it more commercial, create an enterprise around making beads, and then we have also introduced beekeeping. But most importantly, and what I would really want to emphasize here is that the Village Saving and Loan Association, where women or the group members, the farmers are able to pool their money together without any input from CWS. What CWS has done is to train them on how to manage their Village Saving and Loan Association. And they're able to pull their money together. They're able to create a fund, a revolving fund where they're able to loan each other money and they're doing small businesses. But also very important, we have introduced what we call farmer managed natural resource regeneration, where we are trying to manage the current resources. We are looking at the trees. We are making communities to preserve. Communities are preserving their trees. They are fencing off areas, and they're helping the trees to grow even during the time of stress. And this is helping in a way that is starting to grow vegetation, but also pasture can grow. The grass for animals can grow under those trees, and the animals can be able to use that at the time of drought. Next slide, please. So as I said about chicken, this is a new product in this community. And when we introduced it, the men said they didn't want to deal with it because they're pastoralists and they keep large animals, so they don't want to keep chicken. So we trained women in all the 909 households, and the women are keeping the chicken are giving the eggs. And this has actually helped the women to diversify their livelihoods. It also helped them to get a new stream of income. And at the moment, women are reporting reduced cases of gender-based violence at household level because they are no longer asking for money from their husbands every time they want money. They are in charge of their lives. They are making decisions about their household budgets and how what they want to eat, because they can sell the eggs and get money. They can also eat the meat. But also, as I said, the Village Saving and Loan Association, all the group members in this community, they are calling it our bank at home. And for the first time, they have money at home, and they can be able to get money and take a loan and do business, pay school fees for their children. I think that's another thing that came out quite strongly. Next slide. So I'll check in with Naba just to see if he has anything to add before we go to the last project.
Thank you, Mary. I have been fortunate to travel with the Church World Service team during the relief phase when they were in-kind food distributions during the drought, and also to visit the communities where the recovery work is currently happening. And that was a great experience. We also had a learning tour from the Foodgrains Bank back in 2023. We had our own Alongside Hope delegation who visited this project location last year around the same time. I think it was in February. And then a learning tour from the Foodgrains Bank is going there next week. Their Church World Service is hosting. So traveling with Mary and the team. So something more about the community there. The pastoralist community is very, very patriarchal, and polygamy is very randomly practiced there. Uh, Having three wives per a man is very common. So gender changes, gender transformation work may perhaps take maybe a generational work. But some of the things that Mary's team is doing, those things that introducing teacher gardening, poultry, beadwork, um, beehives, and then linking this all with village saving and loan, which they call like bank at home. I think these are all in the women's domain, and so I think that that economic empowerment and the signs are already there, visible, although in a very small scale, but clearly visible. And one of the things is um, the project has among the target households, of course, it's not prudent to target all households at one go. So there are what we call three cohorts. So to go phase by phase. So we met with all the cohorts, and some of the groups that are like cohort one, which began early, there are women who can already see the level of confidence that they could stand up and speak in the group, explaining about what their groups do, what they are doing at home, which enterprise, how they are benefiting from, and how they are working collectively in the VSLA, the Village Saving Loan Group. So that level of confidence was very visible when we had meeting with them in the community under acacia tree in a drought, 36 degrees Celsius heat. So that changes have already been visible, but for obviously for cohort one, that just has been beginning where social service staff, local staff are training them for group dynamics, the leadership, how they can come together and work. So where they are beginning, the level of hesitance, and sometimes they to stand up and speak, they look to the men who are sitting at the other side of the group, so seeking permission to speak up. So those differences are clearly visible in the community. And traveling with Mary, Mary assesses the situation and gently pokes the men about, "Hey, guys, you should take care of your wives," this kind of thing, in a very humorous way, so that there's no backlash, but there's also messages that they get. So I've seen that in Naragusu, but also in the refugee community, but also in Marsabit, that Mary has been, just bringing this up very gentle way, but in a very non-damaging way. The drought in Marsabit is back. The area is already in what we call IPC phase 3, which is stress level. Sorry, not stress, crisis level, which means the households who are under these interventions are, of course, coping well. But as Mary said, it's a county where 500,000 people are affected by drought. So there were other people who are clearly experiencing crisis with the water shortage. Coping strategies are going down. So this is very difficult situation. But I think one thing that the church world service is doing is showing them the models. The households who are not in the project can clearly see what the others who are in the project are doing, and there's something for them to. That's what we call spontaneous adoption. So hopefully the others can gradually take up, but clearly there's crisis currently beyond their coping capacities. Maybe I'll stop there for now.
I'm sorry,
Suzanne.
sorry to interrupt, Naba and Mary. I'm just watching time and ask if the DRC section could be covered in about 7 to 8 minutes. We'll go a little over time because we started a bit late. Thanks.
Yeah. So over to you, Mary. Thank you, Suzanne.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So lastly, I'll be talking about our program in Democratic Republic of Congo. I have had an opportunity to visit a number of times. First, when we are starting the project, we had to do a lot of consultation with the community, discussion on what can be done and how it can be done and how the communities are going to be involved. And I have been in this business for over 30 years. I think the needs in DRC weighed me down because the needs are enormous. They don't seem to be a sign of help. And DRC is a big country. So the main drivers of food insecurity in DRC is armed conflict and insecurity. That's the biggest problem, and it still happens up to today. This has led to mass displacement. You have so many people in DRC who are displaced in their own country. And as I've talked about the refugee camp in Tanzania, most of those people who are in the Nyarugusu refugee camp, they came from Tanzania. We have other refugee camps around Africa and especially East Africa, and we still have people in DRC. So there's a huge economic instability and high food prices in DRC because basically instability, there is armed conflict, but also there's lacking on what people can do. There's no seeds in DRC. So just to finish about the three main drivers of food insecurity that has led to DRC to be one of the largest, a country that has the largest food crisis or the biggest food crisis with over 25 million people facing acute food insecurity. That means they either have one meal a day or they skip a day and then have a meal the following day. So basically, it's a big problem, and I'm happy that CFGB and alongside Hope are supporting Church World Service to have a blueprint in DRC to start some work to, as I said, we give people hope to give these communities hope. Next page, next slide, please. So what have we been able to do in DRC? We started work in DRC in August last year, and we did a 4-month food assistance project, emergency project that provided non-conditional cash transfer to households that were facing extreme hunger. And this money was to help these households to be able to access food. And this was happening during the food lean period. What that means is that a period between the time people do not have any food at all, and maybe they're hoping to harvest something, they planted something, they're going to harvest. So in most cases in Africa, this is the time of drought in most communities. So that was between August and December 2025. We were able to reach about 1,571 households with a total number for over 10,000 individuals. Our transfer value was about 21 Canadian dollars per individual per household per month for 4 months. But in addition to that, and the story that I have is that in addition to just providing cash that helps people at the time of need, we also provided seeds for vegetables. And I want to call these seeds of hope, because these seeds have brought some hope to these communities. I visited 3 weeks ago, and every household was guarding the seeds they'd planted, not just to eat the vegetables, but they are guarding and they're taking care and they're tending to their seed so that they can have seed for the next season. And for that reason, we'll be moving forward with a long-term project in DRC, a 3-year project, what we call Nexus. What Nexus means is that we want to try and join emergency response, development, bring in the concept of peace, but also look into gender equality issues. Next slide. Just the outcome about the food assistance project, I think I had already talked about that. We provided cash for people to buy food, but also seeds to plant vegetables. So next slide, please. So next steps in DRC, I've talked about it a bit. We are looking at the triple nexus strategy. At this particular moment, we are doing what we call situational. We are undertaking a situation assessment. And as we speak to you this evening, Naba and I has just completed a very comprehensive training on monitoring and evaluation, where situational assessment was emphasized a lot. And this was done by technical staff from CFGB who are in the country at the moment. And we want to do a 3-year project. At this particular point during situation assessment, we want to consult, we want to discuss, we want to engage the community in their own development. We want to let them tell us what they can do, how they can do it, how we can improve their life, but how do they take the center position as the people in DRC? We are going to provide what they don't have, but they have to give all the assets that they have. So we are looking to a 3-year engagement project and be able to continue working with them. At the moment, in addition to the funding from Alongside Hope, we are also looking for other resources just to make sure that, I don't know whether you can manage to reach 1% of the 25 million people but that is our target for the next 5 years. So thank you so much. I think I want to hand over to Naba.
Yes, Mary, thank you. So, going back to the matching mechanisms, so this, let me start with the DRC, the Congo project. So, as Mary said, the food assistance project was there. So that, of course, was life-saving. So, qualified for 4-to-1 match, drawing from the food assistance account, which means for 80% from the uh, government, coming from the government through CFGB, and 20% from the alongside Hope Equity. And then the Triple Nexus initiative that we're hoping, Church World Service is hoping for. In this case, Triple Nexus means relief, but also recovery and livelihood, and weaving that together with peace building and conflict sensitization, because this community had inter-ethnic conflict. Many fled the villages, and many are also returning from Angola. So there's a good thing for opportunity in this area of DRC is the land is very fertile. So if you provide the liking input, there's a lot of enthusiasm, and land is fertile, but the challenge is there's land dispute. They dispute the conflict because of, you people have been displaced over different years. Some people say this is my land, others would say, oh no, no, this is my land. So the project, the situation assessment that Mary mentioned should clearly, consult with the communities on how best to work, in this conflict, in the conflict sensitive way, so that the agriculture can thrive, but also the conflict can be minimized, mitigated, and there's a certain level of social harmony. So that's why we're hoping to have this triple nexus mechanism there. Uh, Talking about other matching in Marsabit during the drought that Mary mentioned, it qualified for 4-to-1 match. I don't know whether Suzanne mentioned about humanitarian coalition, that our membership through the Canadian Foodgrains Bank. So even we were able to draw funds from there through the Canadian Foodgrains Bank. Uh, and then the livelihood diversification and gender work that's currently happening is, of course, in the aftermath of the drought emergency. That's why it qualifies. The project qualifies for food security account, which is 3-to-1 match. And back to Nyarugosu refugee camp, because World Food Program was already providing basic ration, although it has gone down and down and down, now 50% down. But because that basic ration was there, and the project was to complement the basic food ration by growing fruits and vegetables. So the project qualified for 1-to-1 match. That means 50% of the project budget coming from the shared account, and 50% coming from the alongside Hope's equity account. So that's matching formula, but there's a lot of work happening, not just with the Foodgrains Bank Secretariat, but among the members. There's lots of sharing of equity, but sharing of the allocation coming from the government, but also sharing of ideas, sharing among the partner organizations in country, like that. So, for example, as Suzanne mentioned, we had projects in Gaza and Afghanistan currently. So in Gaza, our partners are focusing on health, as you might know, but the Middle East Central Committee has partners who are focusing on who had experience in food assistance. So some of our equity goes to support their project there, and then they support our project in DRC. Like Afghanistan, Suzanne mentioned, the Presbyterians have good partnership there with a long track record of the partner that we also know through ACT Alliance. So we contribute our equity to support their project there, and then they support us. So, for example, in DRC, the United Resources of Canada has supported us alongside Hope's contribution to the project being done by Church World Service. They've given us more than 300,000 of their Global Affairs Canada share, the government money share, and then Mennonite Central Committee and World Renew, they have shared their equity money to the project. So yeah, there's a lot of sharing, and because of the collaborative work, as I mentioned earlier, there are these special projects, the recognition of the good work being done by the churches together in the Canadian Foodgrains Bank platform. So in addition to the food assistance grant, the coalition, the consortium is getting even special projects like the Nature Plus and the Philippines project that's upcoming. So yeah, lots of things happening there primarily through the equity, but then through equity, then when connected to the secretary, to other members and to the partners. So the theme of this workshop is, stronger together. It very much applies to the work that the Alongside Hope the and Anglican Church of Canada is doing through this consortium. Yeah, back to you, Susan.
Thank you so much, Naba and Mary, and no need to apologize about the internet challenges. I think it just gives us a little flavor of how challenging it is to do this work where you are and under the conditions that you're facing. We've come to time, but I'm going to suggest that we just take a few minutes to address the questions that I found in the chat, and certainly know that Alongside Hope staff would be happy to follow up with questions after the webinar as well, if you wanted to email Naba or colleagues of his in the program and partnerships team. So, and recognizing that people have other things to get to, grateful to those of you who can stay for just a few more minutes. I noticed at the very top of the chat, we had greetings from Darlington, who's joining us from the Anglican Church in Zimbabwe, who had a question about connecting around agricultural livelihoods training, which the church in Zimbabwe is engaged in, and a possible Foodgrains Bank collaboration. Naba, I don't know if you want to say anything about that briefly, or whether we could follow up with Darlington at a later point.
Yes, then we can follow up later.
Okay, that sounds great. And I'm grateful to our colleague Richard and others who've been answering some of the questions in the chat as we go along. I think we got the question of what's a VLSA answered, or a VSLA, Village Savings and Loans Association. And thanks to Lois and Lynn and others for greetings and gratitude to Mary and to Naba. I'm hoping others have seen those in the chat, and I'm hoping especially Naba and Mary have. Miguel, a new colleague of ours at Alongside Hope, asked a question about, and I'm just going to find it here. Do we know if the CFGB has historically encountered scenarios where the combined 15-member equity withdrawals for acute food crisis exceeded the annual government matching cap? Naba, do you know if there's ever been an excess, or do we simply have to program to the match stops when the money ends?
Yeah, I'm not sure about that, Susan.
Okay, well, Miguel's in our office, so we can follow up with him afterwards.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions? And I'll just quickly need to ask people to raise a hand or unmute and just shout, because I don't see everybody all at once on the screen. You can use the raised hand function if you like, which is found under React, the little heart at the bottom of your screen, if you're on a laptop. Any other questions or comments briefly? Sarah.
Hi, I'm Sarah Bird. I am proudly the new youth engagement coordinator for Alongside Hope. So, along with Miguel, I am too new to the team. And I just wanted to highlight my beloved resource that it's been through some love because I've been looking at it quite often. It is the resource that was mentioned a little earlier on, and it was so. It's the National Youth Project. And this was developed by the Canadian Foodgrains Bank in partnership with Alongside Hope and the Canadian Lutheran World Relief Organization. And I just want to highlight it for a moment because it is a really great opportunity to engage conversation and the folks that you are in ministry or in community with to do with food security and insecurities that are well known to us globally and locally. So it's a beautiful way to engage intergenerational conversation as well as youth and young adults. And so I shared it earlier and I will share it again on our screen along with my contact. So if you would like to be in touch with me for more questions about this resource, please reach out.
Thanks, Sarah. Terry is asking a question about the recording. The recording will be shared. Yes, it will. And PowerPoints. Janice or Kim, are we sharing out PowerPoints?
So we don't generally share out PowerPoints because there are often a lot of pictures without a lot of text. But because we've had technical difficulties, I think Janice and I and you will have a little chit chat if there's a way to gather any notes together. So let's follow up about that one.
Sounds good. Okay. And Mike has asked a question. This might actually be one that Richard, if he's still with us, could answer. What will happen with the Zero Trust project in Zimbabwe when Nature Plus funding ends? Richard, are you still here and could answer that?
Yeah, thank you, Suzanne. Yes, I can say it has been extended for another 3 months with the surplus of funding CFGB has. And so Zero was expected to end of June 2026, the project, but it will be extended until September 2026, which gives us more time for our government to hopefully one day make an announcement that they embrace Nature Plus and decide to fund it because it wasn't in the budget. So we're hoping, and we're also looking around for other funding that would involve a, a, a rather large funder of the size of global affairs. So that's the reality now, is that it's scheduled to end in September. And needless to say, our colleagues at CFGB are looking at alternative funding as we speak. So we'll be able to answer that more definitively as the months progress. Thank you.
Mike asks if some advocacy is needed, Richard. Should they be contacting their MPs?
Absolutely, Mike. And we need you. You're in Ottawa. We need to team up and get to see Mr. Carney. Thank you.
Okay, not just any MP, but the big one. Okay, thanks, Richard. I'm going to suggest we wrap up and with gratitude to Naba and Mary for joining us. It's their bedtime, so we need to let them go. And also gratitude to Kim and Carolyn for their inputs and to Janice for helping us keep this together with